An error has been detected. Activating countermeasures. Error purge in process. Error purge in process. Error purge in process. That was a Ruststalker princeps at the Battle of Cran's Blunder, and those are the only words he had. Not a war cry, and not a prayer to the Omnisia, but a system log, spoken aloud through a Vox grill while he took a squad apart with a blade that hums. He was a person once. He had a voice that said other things. Then he served the machine god well, and this is what the machine god gave him for it. Welcome to life as a Sicarian Ruststalker, one of the stick-thin cybernetic assassins of the Skitarii legions. Most of the Imperium's worst fates are punishments handed down to criminals, traitors, and failures. Yours is a reward, granted for service, and that distinction will matter more the further we go. Start where you started, which is as a Skitarii. You were a soldier of the cult Mechanicus. A cyborg trooper marched onto some contested world to secure an artifact, or a mine, or a stretch of nothing that a tech priest wanted. You did your duty, you held the line, and then something on that battlefield blew you apart, burned you to the bone, or dismembered you, and by every reasonable measure you died there. The Mechanicus took a different view. There is a threshold in the archives for what can be salvaged from a fallen Skitarii, and it is set with a precision that should chill you. The conversion can proceed as long as a tech priest possesses a head, a torso, and some limb stumps. That is the standard, and it says nothing about a survivable wound or a functioning body. A head, a torso, and stumps. If enough of you is left to fill that requisition, you are not incinerated with the rest of the dead. You are collected, and you are carried back, and you are judged still fit to serve. Note the direction of that judgment. Nobody asks whether you want to continue. The question on the slate is whether the Omnisia can still extract use from the wreckage. And the wreckage does not get a vote, because the wreckage stopped being a legal person the day it enlisted. Picture yourself conscious for that judgment. You are on a field, in pieces, and the Metakey verdict is not whether you can be saved, but whether there is enough raw material left on the ground to justify the trip. The transformation follows, and the lore describes it in 4 words that do more work than any gore could. Traumatic, painful, and it unravels the recipient's psychological stability. The word is unravels rather than damages. Whatever was holding your mind together comes apart on that slab while you are awake inside it. They amputate everything that remains, regardless of the original injuries. Your surviving limbs go anyway, because the frame they are fitting you into has no use for them. Titanium replaces the lot. There is a grim efficiency in this that the priests find satisfying. By cutting away the parts that survived, they guarantee a standard product. 2 Ruststalkers built from 2 different ruined men come off the line identical, which makes the requisition form simpler and the replacement parts interchangeable. Your individuality was an obstacle to inventory management, and they solved it. Your new legs are built with reversed joints, backward bending like a bird's, so you can run at speed across open ground for a long time without tiring. Your hands are fixed, locked for good into a shape that grips a weapon, because a hand that can do anything else is a hand doing something other than killing. You end up stick-thin, long-limbed, and faster than anything that shape should be, and there is nothing left of your silhouette that a friend would recognize. Now, the part that separates you from every other cyborg horror in this setting. The Mechanicus does not wipe your mind. They wipe the minds of servitors and lobotomize them into obedience, because a servitor is a tool. You are not a tool. You are a weapon, and a weapon works better with something burning inside it. They leave the wreckage of you in there. Ruststalkers are chosen from those who recovered worst, the lost and the desperate. The ones whose psychological unraveling went furthest, who came off the slab with nothing intact except a bottomless well of rage at what had been done to them. The archives say those souls are grateful for the sanction to unleash their violent fury in service of the machine god. You are not conscripted into this. You are given permission for it, and after what they did to you, permission is the only mercy on offer, so you take it and you say thank you. The term the lore uses for the result is a bitter murder lust, driven by the mutilations of your former life. Your grief did not get removed, it got repurposed. Every scrap of what you lost, the body, the name, the face, the future, is still in there. And the Mechanicus found a way to route all of it into the blade arm. And the part that should turn your stomach, if you still had one to turn, is what comes next. The arrangement works, and you are magnificent at it. Your weapons are called Transonic, and they are the Adeptus Mechanicus, showing off its mastery of physics. A transonic blade emits a low, insistent buzz that makes stomachs turn and eyes vibrate in their sockets. That is the passive effect, before it touches anyone. Strike armor with it, and the sonic field sweeps across a range of wavelengths until it finds the exact molecular frequency of the plate in front of it, and then it passes straight through as if the armor offered no more resistance than a hologram. Ceramite, carapace, layered plate that stops bolt rounds, all of it becomes a suggestion. The tech priests have refined this offshoot of sonic technology into an entire family of tools, from stiletto swift razors up to the heavier patterns, and they keep improving it. Somewhere on a Forge world, there is an adept whose life's work is making the noise that kills people a fraction more efficient, and he considers this holy labor. And by the standards of his cult, he is correct. The Astra Militarum call you shivs, after the shivering blur of the blades. The detail they remember longest comes next. The damage takes a second or two to arrive. A soldier watches your blows rain off his armor with a transonic shriek and thinks he's been lucky. Then, a few heartbeats later, he comes apart. His squad watches him disintegrate, hacked limb from limb in a shower of blood, from wounds that were already inside him while he was still standing there feeling fortunate. The tech priests consider this delay well worth the wait, and that phrasing is theirs. They looked at a weapon that lets a man believe he survived for 2 full seconds before his body catches up, and their recorded assessment is that the results justify the pause. You have a companion piece for close work, the Chordclaw, a needle-fingered gauntlet whose transonic field turns a man's muscle, bone, and fat to jelly. The archives also call it quivering mulch, and both descriptions come from the same source. So, somebody at Mars sat down and decided which phrasing to keep, and kept both. Your grenades are Mindscrambler pattern, which contain the egg sac of a Cethellan electrogenesis squid. On detonation, the biological surge causes heavy neural trauma in living creatures and artificial intelligences alike. You throw a live alien organ at people, and it damages minds and machines with equal disinterest. Your armor is a multi-layered alloy called agium, thin and flexible, and it does something that fits your existence with unpleasant precision. It functions as a capacitor. It catches the energy of incoming attacks and disperses it across your bionic frame without harm. Even the blows aimed at you get absorbed, redistributed, and put to work, keeping you upright. Nothing that happens to you is allowed to go to waste, including the violence. You do not go to war alone. You hunt in a killclade. 3 squads of Ruststalkers accompanied by a single squad of your Infiltrator brothers. And the Infiltrators are worth understanding, because they are what happened to the Sicarians who did not end up like you. An Infiltrator came off the same slab, with the same threshold of head, torso, and stumps. Almost the whole human head has been replaced by a domed helm that gives them a full circle of vision. Whatever a face is for, they no longer need one. From that dome, they emit white noise and photonic strobing that floods every audio-visual spectrum with static, and the effect is so complete that battles are often decided before a single kill has been confirmed. Enemies stand there deaf, blind, and finished, waiting for someone to arrive and formalize it. The elegant cruelty sits in the arrangement itself. Skitarii who fight alongside Infiltrators receive null codes that transmute those frequencies into something else. To your own side, the shriek pouring out of that dome sounds like a soft psalm to the glory of the Omnisia. The rank and file therefore revere the Infiltrators as wise and holy heroes, talismans against data corruption, selfless warriors on the front line. Only to the enemy is the truth revealed, and the revelation is that little virtue remains inside these prowlers, and what personality remains is interested only in death. That is your brotherhood in one image. A holy song on one channel, a scream on the other, and an empty thing wearing the helmet that produces both. Before the killing starts, your masters inload hyperaction imperatives into you, and at an unspoken command, your killclade bursts from concealment like hunter arachnids. Your blades flash azure as you close, then gory red once the butchery begins. Even the moment you launch yourself at the enemy is a command received rather than a decision made. The rage is yours. The trigger belongs to a tech priest. All of this excellence buys you a specific amount of regard from the people who made you, and the amount is documented. The tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus revere ancient machines. The robots of the Legio Cybernetica are held in the highest regard, treated as sacred inheritance. The Skitarii legions are not. The archives are blunt about it. Your kind are churned out on uncaring production lines, functional and effective in mass, and never treasured as individuals, even by the tech priests who repair you, who often do so using whatever spare parts are at hand. That last clause deserves attention. Your repairs come out of a bin. The metal that carries you into the next war is scavenged from whatever was lying nearby, perhaps from a Sicarian who stopped functioning last week. You are a bitter murderlust, animating a chassis of other people's leftovers. You do not have a name either. Sicarians wear a squad number on the helm or chest plate. The records list individuals as Tepa Nixo 6E20F and Decime U24 Force K. A princeps rates a skull in place of his Forge World icon, which is as close as this organization comes to a promotion you can see from a distance. Your Forge World of origin does change the decor, at least. If you came off Mars, you wear the deep red of the red planet. Metallica ships you out in white and skips red altogether. Agrippina trims your plate with ancient gold cut from the few strata of their surface that war has not scarred. Ryza dresses you in the ochre of their rust dunes, with the inside of the robes dyed deep red in memory of the blood spilled there across the millennia, and hangs purity seals of blood wax and parchment on you to certify that you are free of harmful scrap code. And then there is Graia, whose Skitarii accentuate the crimson of Mars with the brighter red of spilt blood, a choice their detractors attribute to an unhealthy interest in each spray of gore that jets from their victims. Your Forge World gave you a color scheme. Nobody gave you a name. And your original purpose says everything about your standing. You were not designed for the front line at all. Ruststalkers were devised as cybernetic assassins to be sent into the wastes of Mars, hunting down feral servitors and other undesirables excommunicated from the cult Mechanicus. Your first job was cleaning up the Mechanicus's own mistakes, broken servitors that wandered off, people the cult had cast out. You were the thing they sent into the red dust to make their errors stop moving, and you were so effective at killing their discarded property that somebody had the idea to point you at everyone else instead. That is the entire story of your promotion. You were good at disposal, so they widened the definition. There is one strange light in all of this, and it flickers in an unsettling direction. A few clades have made names for themselves, though never with their masters. During the invasion of Ryza, Clade R2-111 learned to attack during the acid rain season, using the downpours to cover their infiltration, and the corrosion left distinctive dripping rust patterns on their armor. The orcs who kept meeting them in the wet started calling them the Rust Rippers, and the greenskins learned to fear that specific silhouette. A clade developed a reputation and a nickname, and it came from the enemy, because the enemy was paying attention. Stranger still are the clades out of Styges the Eighth, the Crimson Blades, and the Skullmarks. These units seem to have gone rogue. They bear unusual markings that nobody issued, and they appear unbidden among other legions summoned to battle, arriving where they were not sent, and fighting where they were not ordered. And the Mechanicus does nothing about it. Since all their acts have been in aid of their Forge World, little effort has been expended to track them down for reprogramming. Read that with your own condition in mind. Something in those clades started making choices. Something got loose from the imperatives, painted itself markings, and began turning up on battlefields it selected. And the response from Mars was a shrug and a note in a file, because the killing was still landing on the correct people. Whatever woke up inside those Sicarians, the Mechanicus is content to leave it awake, so long as the output stays useful. That is either the most hopeful fact about your existence, or the bleakest, and there is no way to tell which from inside the helmet. Either some fragment of the person on that slab clawed its way back and found a way to steer, or the murderlust grew organized enough to pick its own targets. The Mechanicus has not investigated, and the reason it has not investigated is the same reason it built you in the first place. The output remains acceptable, so the question never gets asked. Take stock of the reward you earned. You served with loyalty, and you were torn apart doing it. They collected your head and your torso and your stumps. They cut away everything else. They took your face and your name and your ability to hold anything that is not a weapon. And they left your suffering in place because a weapon works better with something burning inside it. They gave you a blade that makes eyes vibrate, a gauntlet that renders men to mulch, and permission to use both forever. Your comrades see a holy relic of the Omnisia walking past. Your enemies see a blur and feel lucky for 2 seconds. Your masters see a line item repaired with scrap. And you, whatever is left of you behind the optics, get to run at the enemy on backward legs with your hands welded shut around a screaming blade, carrying the grief of a soldier who died on some forgotten field and was never allowed to finish the job. And when the fighting starts and something in you speaks at last, what comes out is not your name, or a curse, or the name of anyone you lost. Out comes a fault report, repeating, while your hands do the only thing they were left able to do. Error purge in process.